In episode 78 of Greenhorn Gardening, an easy way to build your own drip irrigation system, and for the growing tip, I'll share a recipe for making gardener's soap. Welcome to greenhorngardening.com. I'm Damon, and I'm on a mission to help you grow your own vegetable garden. So definitely go on over to greenhorngardening.com/claim to get your free download and the right way to make and use organic fertilizer. About that, here we are. We're, just seeded up some lettuces, some baby choice, some Swiss chard, and then came all this rain, and hopefully they won't rot out, before they get a chance to sprout and do all that good stuff. But that's usually how that happens. So consequently, there's a good quick tip is that sometimes when you're in situations where you have a lot of rain and it's just the soil's just not right, but it's getting close to time to plant anyway, one of the great things to do is just go ahead and just seed them up in some little trays or anything. But anyway, the whole thing is that I've been working on. You just heard me talking about the download thing to get your free organic fertilizer mix. I'm working on a top 5 tools list for 2013, and I've been trying to put that together for a few days now. I've been under the weather, it has been so much, been so wet, been so crazy, and just a lot of moisture, and it's just gotten everybody sick, and all the gunk is going around, and you know how that is, right? And so that's why I didn't have a podcast last week. It's just, because that's just kind of how it is sometimes. It can be difficult because it's like, oh gosh, what do you do, when I could have done the podcast, but unless you just want to hear a bunch of hacking and coughing and sounding voice, wouldn't have done you any good. So I said, well, we'll just go ahead and take this week and then get the next podcast out next week. So there's that. And so we're working on the top 5 tools list, top 5 gardening tools list for 2013. And hopefully can get that out to by next week's podcast, have that out. So be looking for that. Also got the seedlings done. The survey results, had a lot of cool survey results. Let's see, I've been asking about the springtime growers course that I plan on putting online. And let's see if I can find the survey results for that. Well, one of the things I know is that one of the things that I get a kick out of it is asking people, okay, what kind of format do you learn best in, or things like that. And one of the things that keeps coming back is that without a doubt, the number one thing is people seem to want a combination. You guys seem to want a combination of videos and some audio with a few written materials. And one of the things I notice is that time. A lot of people just don't have a lot of time, and there's, that's the one thing about the raised bed growing mastery course I did about last year. This time it was this big, long 6-module course, and it was just, one of the things I want to do is make things much more concise, because I know some of you, have been saying that you just, how do you garden? We don't have a lot of time, and you don't want to have to process too much information. You can just get straight to the thing and go. And so that's part of what I want to do with the current springtime growers course that I'm trying to plan out and do that. And so I got a lot of good feedback from you guys a few weeks ago with the surveys. Another thing that most of you wanted was some spring gardening tutorials, and that's what I'm working on now. And a lot of you wanted an online course that you can move along at your own pace, as opposed to just having, a more of a one-on-one type of thing. So that's what we're going to go with, and that's what I'm going to work on. But the thing is, I actually need help in fleshing out the rest of the course. I mean, what kinds of things are you wanting to know? Are you wanting to know how to prepare the soil? Or you want to know how to plant or harvest? Are there certain specific kinds of plants? Like you want to know how to grow tomatoes or cucumbers or carrots or lettuces or Swiss chard or eating greens or stir-frying greens or peppers or whatever it is. What are some of the specific things that you really want to have and learn in a springtime growers course? I know, like you say, some of you wanting to know about how to save time. So if that's important, just let me know. And one of the ways you can do that is you can contact me with email, Damon@greenhorngardening.com. You can go on over to the website. You can always just post a response to one of the blog posts, and I'll get it that way. You can shoot me a message on Twitter at Greenhorn Damon, or go on over to YouTube to the Greenhorn Gardening channel over there on YouTube. Okay, so with that, let's jump on into the main subject. Okay, so drip irrigation made easy. And for those of you who don't know, there's a free ebook on the Greenhorn Gardening website called Drip Irrigation Made Easy. If you just go on over to greenhorngardening.com and you look on the left-hand column there, you'll see drip irrigation. You'll see a thing that says free, free ebook or something like that, and that'll give you the link to download the Drip Irrigation Made Easy ebook if you're interested. There's no registration for that particular ebook, and so that's just freely available to everybody. I give it away, and just so because that's part of the core values here at Greenhorn Gardening, is to build gardeners and grow gardeners. And one of the most valuable things that you can learn how to do is to adequately irrigate your garden at a low cost. And you're talking about saving time in your garden. This is one of the main reasons why you want drip irrigation. Again, remember I was saying about people not having much time, and who has the time to just stand there and water everything with a bucket? I mean, who has that kind of time? But if you could set everything up on timers and set everything where every single plant or every single row or every single square foot or every single whatever is getting a metered amount of water, drip by drip by drip, and every plant is getting all the water it needs, and all you got to do is set a timer, and it just does so automatically throughout the week. Or you can do mine. Mine is a little bit more manual, but still, I can watering hundreds of square feet of garden for not much time at all. I mean, I don't have to water every part of the garden every day or every other day or whatever, but depending on the time of the year. But the main reason to use drip irrigation is to save time. If you don't have a lot of time, get a drip irrigation system. Another reason why to use drip irrigation is to save water, right? One of the things, don't know, if you use a fan sprayer, that is not a very efficient way to water. If you have one of these fan sprayer nozzle type things, and you're just going to stand there and spray to try to simulate rain, man, here's a big problem. First of all, water's going to start evaporating before it even hits the ground, right? Especially if you're down here, especially for those of you who are out west in the high desert or whatnot. I mean, the water just disappears. Does the water even hit the ground out there after you spray it out of the water hose? I mean, is it that dry out there? I've always wondered about things like that. But anyway, but you see what I'm saying, right? I mean, if you're just spraying water in the air, well, the air is going to get some of that. And then some of that water is going to spill out into the ground, and the growing medium is probably not going to absorb it very readily, because you're watering it at a rate that's faster than it can absorb. So a lot of that water just runs off downhill, so you end up losing water. And so by the time the water actually gets down to the plants, you've wasted a lot of water, and then it sits there on the surface and evaporates as well. So there's three things that are going against you. One, it's evaporating in the air while it's traveling from the hose to the surface of the soil. The surface of the soil can't absorb it all fast enough, so it's a lot of it that's running off, and the stuff that's kind of left there on the surface is evaporating anyway. So you've got just an incredible waste of water. But drip irrigation allows you to just drip, drip, drip. I mean, every drop gets put into the soil, and the soil only absorbs the water as it can. And any excess you just turn off before you start overwatering it, and you can meter it, and it's metered distribution of the water. Because I remember when I did my first drip irrigation system out of just plain old plumbing PVC. Oh my gosh, the one I gotta put some pictures of that thing up. It's just so funny, because I would have jet force streams of water coming out one end and no water coming out the other end of the thing, because it wasn't pressurized, it wasn't metered, it wasn't an even distribution of the water over the entire growing area. And we were just talking about, I was just back, and at that time it was just like a little 32 square foot garden, much less dealing with about the 300 some odd square feet I have now that I'm working with. So that's another reason you can greatly increase the efficiency of watering. I mean, seriously, go water for a month, water your garden in the middle of the summer with a fan sprayer, then put a drip irrigation system in and use that drip irrigation, and watch how your water bill just plummets. Okay, you'll save a whole lot of money on your water bill. And in some places, depending on where you are, these kinds of drip irrigation systems may even be required if you're just going to be watering something. But check your local regs like that. And that ebook has the let's see, what does that thing have? Let's look at it right here real quick. It has the price list for all the parts. It's a simple drip irrigation system that's designed to irrigate raised beds, but it can also irrigate a garden, just depending on how you do it. It has a manifold. It's designed to be used with your regular garden hose. So you can use your garden hose to trek the water around everywhere, so you don't have to buy a whole lot of tubing, because some of these drip irrigation systems, they want you to buy all this tubing to run from the faucet at the house all the way out to the garden and everywhere else, and that's just a waste of money. The garden hose can do that, and what you need is just you just plug it up at the point of distribution, and you can save a whole lot of money that way as well. So not only are you going to save money on your water bill, but you can save money on actually building out the drip irrigation system. So, and that's all in the drip irrigation ebook. Let's see. It has the parts list, the backflow stopper, the filter, the pressure regulator, and of course you've got the adapter, hose pipe, of course, and the hose pipe adapter rather, the main line, which is kind of a manifold, drip line, and so there you go. Now there's one downside, I would say. If there's one downside of drip irrigation, is that the surface of the soil may not be adequately moist to germinate seeds, and so that has been a little bit of a thing, because more of the soil would be dry, because you're only irrigating the part of the soil that needs to be. Now, even though it may appear to be bone dry on the surface, maybe that top inch, maybe even the top 2, and let me adjust the gain here a little bit. Okay, yeah, it's a little bit better for me. Even though the top inch or top 2 inches may be bone dry, once you get down below that, it's just evenly moist, right? And that's great. Because you're not always having the top of the soil be wet and stuff and have mold and fungus problems that way. But let's see. But where the trade-off is that, well, you may not get much in terms of the getting everything to sprout. So if you're going to use a drip irrigation for your raised beds or for your garden, you may need to look at implementing some sort of seed starting things, with some starting seeds in cups and trays and things like that, and that will work just fine. Which is just generally what I do. So basically, the way that works is that you have a manifold that's about as wide. Excuse me. My goodness. Get some water here. Step away from the mic. Okay, so the main line is about a 3/4 inch thick, 3/4 inch diameter line, and that goes the width of the bed, and then the individual drip lines come off that manifold and span the length of the bed. And then there's an adapter there, and you just screw in your water hose, and then there's the pressure reducer or pressure regulator. Because see, the pressure, depending on where you are, I've got a lot of pressure, a lot of just water pressure coming out at the hose pipe, at the spigot at the house. And if you ran that full force to the drip irrigation system I'm talking, just blow everything apart, and you don't want that, so you got to reduce the pressure. And the best way to reduce the pressure is, guess what? A pressure reducer or pressure regulator, and that reduces that pressure. So the advantage is, especially if you're having to especially if you have water that's having to go uphill like it is in my garden, well, the water can go uphill at full pressure, and then at the point of distribution, be reduced to the proper amount. And see, that's how that works, and that's why that's the genius. I shouldn't say genius. I'm not a genius. I'm just a mad scientist. But anyway, that's the beauty of that system, is that you can get the water to the point of delivery at full pressure, at full speed, and then reduce it as needed for wherever it is, whether it be uphill, downhill, or a long way away, whatever. Okay, let's see what else here. And it's pretty easy to set up, really simple tools. It's a really simple kind of thing. And, the good thing about drip irrigation, too, is that you can also incorporate liquid fertilizers. You can also incorporate liquid fertilizers, and for those of you who don't really want to have to deal with organic fertilizers and all that kind of stuff, because that's another option. Hey, to be quite honest with you, it's another option, something to look at. I have not done drip irrigation with the liquid fertilizers, simply because I rely so much on the I just rely on the organic fertilizers that I use, and that does fine for me. Also, too, there's how to calculate water flow requirements. I don't know how long it took me to figure out all that math, but this system, I tried to design the drip irrigation made easy thing so that you don't have to really worry about all that. All you got to do is just get the parts that it says. It all works out. Bam, just go implement it. And you can probably have to adapt it slightly for your, because maybe your raised beds are 40 feet, or maybe they're 30 feet long or something, or maybe they're only 10 feet long, or maybe they're a little less than that, or whatever. And so the thing is that every raised bed has its own little manifold and its own little point of distribution, so that I just screw in the hose pipe, turn it on, water that bed for whatever the 10 minutes all it needs for that day or whatever, and then unscrew it and water the next bed. Now, I could hook them all up and have them all run off the same system and just have to, but that would require more math, things that I just don't really want to do. Again, I'm not going to be watering every part of the garden every day. Some plants are going to need it, some plants are not. I don't want to water too much. I want to have as much control over how much water each part of it gets without having to deal with, it's got to be a simple system. You just screw on the hose pipe, turn on the water, and just let it run for however 10 minutes you're going to let it go. And that may be all the watering you do that day. And then the next day you may water the next bed, and and in 3 days' time you've watered the entire garden, and then you can just kind of start all over, or maybe it just doesn't need anything like this. Now, where do I get my drip irrigation supplies? I always buy them from dripirrigation.com. Hopefully I can make some contact and see if I can interview some of these guys. And they sell products from several manufacturers, but primary seems like they sell from Dig Corporation products. And you can go check out Dig Corporation and put that in Google, and it'll spit something out. And then dripirrigation.com is the drip store. And typical, you can spend, I remember when I first did this, I spent $60 and had enough drip irrigation supplies for, for 364 square feet, and I had enough drip line left over for like a couple of extra seasons of, I could have added a couple of a bunch of more raised beds. I still have drip lines materials that I'm planning on using. I haven't used them all up yet, Most of what I have bought more of has been maybe a few more adapters, things like that for extra beds, and maybe some goof plugs and things like that. But you can spend $40-50 and be able to water hundreds of square feet of garden very efficiently, and very save you some time, will save you money, and it'll increase your you'll be able to water more consistently because it's easier for you, and then you can have a better garden. You can harvest more fruits and vegetables and things like that you really want to do. And so that, my friends, is drip irrigation made easy. Go check it out. Soap. been making soap here in the Greenhorn garden. Let's see if we can get the paper here. My grandmother used to make soap, and I've said that before. Grandmother used to make soap. She never taught my mom how to do it, but from what my mom describes, grandma used to cook the soap. And I've been in mad scientist mode here these past few weeks, and meant to talk more about this before Christmas, but just kind of put things off and got back into it here now, and really getting back into the soap making stuff. And I originally wanted to make soap for fishing bait, actually, but the stuff smells really good. Yeah, just use it around the house and stuff, for cleaning and stuff. And the soap is a hot processed soap. As I've learned, it's cooking your soap is what would be considered hot process, as opposed to cold process, where you just kind of let it sit and cure for just weeks on end. With a hot process, you cook it and it's ready overnight. This soap recipe that I have, I've given it out to a lot of you who are on the email e-newsletter, the e-newsletter from the on the website greenhorngardening.com. If you get on greenhorngardening.com/claim, what I'm always talking about, if you want to get on that email electronic newsletter list, just go ahead and check that out. And part of that soap recipe, I put it out to you guys a couple of weeks ago, and had at least one person replied, was wondering about, thought it was a good recipe and whatnot, and I've been experimenting with it myself. It's a lard-based recipe. Now, real soap, let me tell you something. Real soap is basically the alkaline salts of fatty acids, basically fatty acids that have been emulsified and combined and bonded with lye, like a sodium hydroxide, and it's been cured over time. Like I said, with a hot process, you're done overnight. The cold process takes weeks. And what this stuff is it takes about 2 pounds of lard. There's pretty precise measurements that you need to use, but about 24 ounces of lard, somewhere about, I'm just kind of going off, I'm not giving you exact measurements here. If you guys really want that, then if you want the recipe, just go ahead and email me and I'll just shoot it out to you. About 6.5 ounces of coconut oil, about 1.5 ounces of castor oil, about that much of aniseed oil or NI oil. That's the stuff that smells like licorice, which is one of the more popular flavorings and aromas that are used in fishing. I mean, I don't know what it is, but fish seem to like the aroma of licorice. It's just the weirdest thing, I don't like licorice. I can't stand the stuff, but hey, the fish like it. Hey, if it catches fish, I'm willing to do it. And then, of course, you put water and lye, you mix it all up, you cook it up. And I added some coriander seed, and I added some, what did I add? Coriander seed and basil to it as well. So you've got that. The idea is that this coriander seed and basil will kind of flake off into the water, and then the intense aroma of the NI will bring them in as well. And so, but hey, I use it around the house. I've given samples to friends and whatnot, and people seem to like it. So if you guys are interested in that, give me a shootout and let me see if you guys are interested in making soaps and things like that. Hey, shoot me a message at damon@greenhorngardening.com, and that is this week's growing tip. If you want to supercharge your garden's growth, get your organic fertilizer recipe download at greenhorngardening.com/claim. That's it for this time. See you guys later. Growing big.